All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you are tuning in, we are going live at 7 o'clock. Stay tuned. We're talking forgiveness, peace, and love. Some of the most amazing people I've come across in my life have been teaching me this one thing, and I'm going to share this with you tonight. So stay tuned. Hang in there. We're getting going at 7 o'clock tonight. So stay tuned in about 3 minutes. We're going over peace, forgiveness, and love. One of the most important practices in ancient practice you will want to dive in. So stay tuned. If you're tuning in, hang in there. We're getting going in just about one more minute. Wait for 7 o'clock. Get a few people tuned in. Say hello in the chat. I will say hello. Let me know if you're hearing me loud and clear. We're talking about forgiveness, peace, and love. And we're going to be diving into, very specifically, an ancient practice that has been made well known again over the past few years that I've been taught a few times with my mentors. I want to share this with you tonight because it is an amazing story. So stay tuned. We're going live at about 7 o'clock. One more minute. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be kicking off any second now. Go ahead and share that. Give it a thumbs up. Let me know if you're coming in loud and clear. I'll say hello in the chat. Can you hear me? Where are you from? Let me know what's going on and we'll get started. Here we go. All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Dr. Kevin Jarina, and we have a special show for you tonight. We're talking about peace, forgiveness, and love, and we're going to be diving into that in just a minute. Let me bring you over here to what we're actually talking about: decode your pain. How do you turn pain into personal power? And this is the cover of the book that we talk about. But however, this integrates years and years and years of mentorship and study and training that I've collected so I can continue to share the knowledge that I've been gifted to help me heal in my own personal journey. And that is a number of things. There's physical stuff, there's mental, emotional stuff, there's the nutritional stuff, there's the toxins, and I don't know about you and what you have going on. I know that you're healing stuff today. I know that you're going through things because we are going through it as a collective. Thank you for tuning in, and if I'm coming loud and clear, give a thumbs up. Make sure I can hear you. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. And let's dive in, because for today I want to show you page 34 in the book Decode Your Pain, and it starts off so beautifully. So we're going to dive into the first line, and then we're going to take a moment and collect ourselves. That way we can be oriented in the right way to know what is going on. First and foremost, life. And I invite you to consider that life itself is a discovery process. So ask yourself, let's continue here, page 34, how this applies in your life and what you need to take action on. Okay, now the book here is called, let me bring myself back here. The book here is called Decode Your Pain. Okay, how to make sense of your symptoms and start living your best life. Now, one of the best things you can do is tune in here every Monday night at 7 o'clock. We go over little details of each part of the chapter. However, if you want to get 2 of the chapters gifted to you, you can go to the link in the description, drkevintransformations.com, or on my webpage, drkeving.com, and you can get that free download, that gift for you, because this is how life goes. We're talking about operating with the forces of reality, with the laws of nature. Some people may call it the spiritual laws. However that may be, it's just a different term for what we're all really talking about. And this is what makes life go around. This giving and receiving, this internal and external. There's these, people call them hermetic principles, but these are principles taught in every ancient text. Let me be mindful of my words for a moment. In many of the important ancient texts, these principles are woven into the stories. There's allegories, there's examples, these are all different terms to describe how do we relate difficult concepts in simple terms. And this is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are working on a collective transformation. However, it's also happening within. And what is so beautiful, a practice I'm going to be sharing with you today called Ho'oponopono talks exactly about that. Now, if you never heard of that, that's okay. I've been recently reminded of it and just practicing the power of it and how amazing it is. When I was looking some information up for tonight's show, I came across an amazing story of the developer of this. It's an ancient Hawaiian practice, and he talks about healing others by healing himself. He was a doctor, and he was doing some type of study to understand the nature of this power. This is beyond the biochemistry, and I may use another term. It's beyond pills and medications. Right? There are new things being discovered. There is another new organ discovered in the human body. There was one last year too, and there's one this year. And guess what else is happening? They're finding out new levels of brain waves. And this begins to explain all the weird synchronicities, all the practices of why prayer works, or why voodoo works, or why intention works. It's all about intention, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you about that right now. Intention. So the intention for this message for us tonight is about awareness. Awareness is the game. Awareness is the game that helps set you free. It actually can turn pain into power. With that being said, how does one actually, real life, how does one actually do that? Now, there are some steps. There are some mental mechanics. Maybe you want to call it mental gymnastics. However, getting from awareness of what your thoughts are and then learning the process of shifting them. And you can even go through a different way. You can start with where you have a physical pain in your body, and you can work through that doorway to get to the thought process, the mind component that is at the root of that pain, and begin to work on that and shift that energy And it's so interesting, the pains that change, the symptoms that change, then the quality of your life changes as a result of that work. In fact, I was raised in a biblical setting, a Christian setting here in the United States of America, out here in New Jersey. And in fact, if I were to quote the first line that Christ spoke in the Bible, and then compare it to the 7 Hermetic laws, the natural law, spiritual law, you'll see the same thing. Very, very intriguing, isn't it? The first word Jesus spoke, by the way, was repent. And if you go in to define that word, what it really means is to change your mind. Now, don't believe me. Go look up the Latin, the Greek or the Hebrew, I believe it is in, and look at the different ways of the definitions of how one could translate that word repent. Now, with that being said, I'm going to keep shifting gears into the 7 Hermetic laws. And what does that say? What's the first law? All is mind. So Christ is talking about change your mind. The first law is saying all is mind in Hermetic principles. Well, isn't that interesting? If there's a problem in your life, change your mind. Shift your perception. And it works. I am living, breathing evidence of it. Each of my clients are living, breathing evidence of it. And the people I'm being mentored by, they're living, breathing evidence by it. And I am so excited to share with you today a strategy that I've been reminded of the power of this practice, Ho'oponopono. So let's talk a little bit about that right now. And we're going to be starting with physical pain. I know we all have it. So let's take a look at the purpose of pain. Let's take a look at the purpose of pain. Bring up this page here. One moment. Boom, there we are. So if pain suddenly comes on within you, ask yourself what you were just thinking about. This is the game of awareness, ladies and gentlemen. See, oftentimes we are not present with our thoughts. I have been guilty, and the practice is getting better at regulating where the mind is focused on. So if the mind is distracted, well, guess what happens? You're not physically present. Your spirit is not physically present in the body. And what happens is the body just goes on doing things in an automatic way. And that is where we get ourselves in trouble. The automatic ways of life. Now, sometimes those automatic ways we have built in there, like a good habit. But oftentimes, it's the things that we don't know that are happening automatically that get us stuck in the places and result in pain, whether physical, mental, emotional, or otherwise. There is a reason for it. And really, pain is like a check engine light to help you become aware, to alert you to the challenge, to the problem. And when you know that a problem is present, then you can go on finding the solution. Well, in this instance, all is mind. Remember, first law, if all is mind, then when you begin to become aware of the pain, there's something behind that pain that is leading to that pain. And that is where you really want to begin to get to. It's like fishing. There's layers of different temperatures of water. And as you go deeper, there's different kinds of fish, different temperature, different fish. And so you catch different things. And so the process of becoming aware of the story behind your pain is all I talk about it in good detail. You can read this book in about 2 hours, 3 hours, and it goes through the process of understanding, because we're in chapter 1 today, symptoms are the story. Chapter 2, life is symbolic, and we're on page 34. So let's take a look. If pain suddenly comes on within you, ask yourself, what were you just thinking? Now, I can only speak about me and my experience, but what I've noticed is that there's a tiny voice. We all have that voice in the back, and there's that back in the old cartoons, we have the angel on one side and the devil on the other side. And there's a reality to that. That's just not cartoons. There's a reality to that. And there's this voice that comes in that says something. And if you begin to notice what that voice says, you'll notice that there's a negativity to it. There's a lack to it, an anger to it, a fear to it, whatever that There's a lot of different words to describe different intensities of anger, fear, or negativity. However, if you begin to notice when you become aware of the pain and you quiet yourself and you begin to connect to that, boy, there's a lot of story in there. Time and time and time again, I'm working with a patient. I find something on my analysis. I touch it, and then the patient goes, "You know what, doc? I forgot to tell you something." Whatever they have to say is I know connected to the area I just touched. See, what you haven't realized, and maybe you have, and hopefully that you've come across this information, that the body itself, the physical body itself, is like a memory bank. And different emotions, different experiences are stored throughout the body. And when that pain erupts, this is well known in a number of diagnoses, which I'm not going to talk about now, but when pain erupts, I can guarantee there's a story that has an intensity of an emotion associated with behind it, a story, a lack, a worth, a self-worth concern. Each of these areas that are being highlighted correlate with a specific part of the body. Right in the back here, in fact, this is part of your download, the free gift that I want to give everybody. This has been so important in my life. In the back of the book, in fact, you know what? I'll scroll down right now I'll bring it up and I'll scroll down. You can see it. Right, let's go right there. There it is. And we'll scroll down right to the Appendix A in the back of the book here. Here we're looking at liver. Oh boy, what a great random spot to pop on. You know, nothing is random. It's all perfect. And we're looking at this liver description. And on the left, so we have the right-hand column, the center column, the left-hand column. The right-hand column is possible symbolism. That middle column is emotions and feelings. Now, we know many people understand that liver has a lot to do with anger and rage and things like that, resentment, bitterness, happiness, transformation. Okay, the liver, its job, by the way, is very interestingly related to the function it performs in the physical body. Okay, however, when there are problems in relationship to flowing with life, to feeling blocked, feeling stuck, toxic circumstances, if you're needing to refresh, oftentimes this is a sign of a need in the liver. Now, for those that are new to this understanding, the liver, yes, is an organ in the abdomen. However, in traditional Chinese medicine, that also connects to a line on the skin. It runs down by the big toe and up the leg. And let's see, the liver point has to do with, it goes up the body. And there's a number of muscles associated with it. And I didn't prepare the chart to show you what muscles they are today. However, if that muscle is not working correctly, we can also begin to look at the physical liver itself, as well as the mental, emotional states associated with that. And so here's what you need to do. Here's the process in which I have done for myself. And then we're going to talk about the Ho'oponopono, about forgiveness, peace, and love. And tie it back into the beginning where we had the story of healing others through healing yourself. Very, very intriguing thought process. Though you probably, if you're tuning in, you probably have heard that we are one. And so how does that play out? How does, that's the quantum physics of life. How is it all interconnected? And through this practice, you can see it play out in your life. So with that being said, here we are. Let's imagine that you have a pain. In fact, if somebody has a specific health concern right now, let's talk about it. Type in, and I'll start to talk about a specific health concern, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, a life challenge, whatever it may be, and let's dive into it for a moment. And we'll comment specifically for you. So I'll wait for a second for anyone to type in an answer. Otherwise, I'm just going to go with one that I'm working on myself, and then we'll go from there. So the idea is, once you know what the body part that is you're working on, put your hands on it. Just put your hands on it. And the hands, the intention is to align yourself, to bring yourself back into personal peace, to feeling good. I don't know about you, but I know I want more feeling good in life. So with that being said, you put your hands on that area, and you just begin to connect to it. just as if you would connect to an old friend. Sitting over tea or over lunch, whatever that is, you're inviting them to have that conversation with you. And that's the same thing to do with the pain. So put your hands on the area and you just breathe with it. You just allow it. Intestines. Okay, so let's dive in. We're talking abdomen. All right, we talked about liver, so let's talk about abdomen. So you put your hands over the area. Now, let's be clear, okay? There are a number of causes of why something could be going on in your life. Still, law number one, all is mind. So with that being said, we may need to take 2 steps to get to an answer or 3 steps to get to an answer, but still, let's start with the answer. Let's talk about the couple categories, and then we'll get into the mind component, and then we'll get into action steps, okay? Intestinal issues. Number 1. There's a direct connection between what we're thinking and how our digestive, our intestines are responding. But it's also vice versa. Our intestines can affect our thinking. So the food we put in. Now, you probably heard that story before. I'm sure you have, and it's legit and it's real. So there's toxins and there's pathogens that can hurt the stomach over time. There's a certain body burden, a certain load it can handle. And if it goes beyond that load, well, then there's breakdown. So that's basically what's called biochemistry, the life chemicals, the things, whether synthetic or made in nature, they can cause us to have some challenges. In fact, one of the most common reasons we're having intestinal issues is fungus, molds, and bacteria. And if you want something specific on that, please reach out to me, drkeving.com, or contact at drkeving.com. That's drkeving.com. You should be able to see it scrolling there. With that being said, so there's the toxins. That component can be a significant issue of causing discomfort there. But secondly, there is the central nervous system connection. Literally, the bones of the spine and the skull and all the other bones in your body all work as one unit. They all have a specific range of motion, and they all have an alignment in which those areas operate in. And when those bones are not moving correctly or aligned correctly, it interferes. It's called nociception. It interferes with the communication networks, causing that area to act a little bit different, act out of normal. It's kind of like if I had a walkie-talkie and I was giving someone instructions on the other side of the field to find a specific spot that I was trying to guide them to, and our message was interfered with, they could never get the directions at the right time to get to the right place. It's kind of like that with the stomach. It's like, another analogy would be like an orchestra. Part of the brain is the conductor, and the organs in the digestive system are the players in the orchestra, but they're not in the same rhythm. So it creates disturbances. So there's that component. All right. But there's also a mind component. Worry, doubt, fear can translate into digestive concerns. We know this. They call this the second brain down here in the abdomen. And so that is really where we'll begin our focus right now. Put your hands on that area. Take some deep breaths in and out. And just notice, because your intention is to connect with that pain, to connect with that discomfort, and then listen to the story like you would listen to a friend. Because literally, this has been with you your entire life. It knows all about you, but that's below the radar. That's below conscious level. So when we put our hands on the spot, we start listening to the story. We get places, we get people, we get words, we get phrases. You'd be amazed at what I found in my own life, but what I've also found in my patient's life, what bubbles up in the mind when the hand or when I'm contacting the painful area. With that being said, one of the easiest next steps to do is to practice Ho'oponopono. So let's talk about that right now. So first, let's pull that up right there. Hopefully you can see that. Ho'oponopono. Now I just typed in, it's H-O-O-P-O. Oh, too many O's in there. Joe Vitale was the first person I ever heard this from. And come to find out, there is of course, it comes from Hawaii, and the Islanders, and I'm sure there is a long tradition, an ancient tradition I'm not fully aware of. But this is the 4 steps right here. I'm going to zoom in on a different web page here in a second to show you. But in English, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. So here's if I dove into the actual web page, there's the steps here. And I want to go up to the top because there was a cool story right here at the top. The doctor who developed this, the therapist, was working with criminally insane... Oh, can you see that? No, I'm going to move the screen over, excuse me. Let me line that right up. Pardon me, ladies and gentlemen. Some fast editing here. There we are. So this therapist was working with a criminally insane without ever meeting any of them or spending a moment in the same room. It's not a joke. And he cured the entire ward. So what did he do? Well, he developed his practice. It's built off the Ho'oponopono, and he calls it the self-identity through Ho'oponopono. This is the quantum nature of our reality. So what are we doing first? Repentance. Now, people are like, well, why am I saying, Dr. Kev, this is actually the most common statement I get. Why am I saying I'm sorry? That's the statement I get all the time from people when I teach people this practice. And what we're saying sorry to is ourselves for getting caught up in it. Now, what does he say here? Repentance, I'm sorry. You are responsible for everything in your mind. I know that's a big one, ladies and gentlemen, but we are responsible for what is going on in our mind, even if it seems to be out there. And once you begin to realize this, it's very natural to feel sorry. Okay? Now, continuing. Step 2, please forgive me. We're saying forgiveness to yourself. You know, there's an analogy I love. He who picks up the hot coal, it's like, you know, what's the story? It goes, if I'm angry and I want to get back at somebody and I pick up the hot coal to throw it, the hot rock at that person to hit them with it, who's getting burned? Well, it's the person holding the rock, okay? So we ask for repentance. I'm sorry. We go to forgiveness. Please forgive me. So it's not about worrying who you're asking. Just ask, please forgive me. We're saying it to yourself for yourself. We're saying it to divine for divine. We're saying it to another for another. It goes around and around and around. And then gratitude. Boy, there's a lot of research on gratitude. But thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Even in the worst circumstances, learning to say I'm thankful. Learning to say thank you. Learning to say I hear you. These are some of the most important tools in today's environment. And then step 4. I love you. Now you're saying this to your body. You're saying this to divine. You're saying this to first creator. You're saying it to God. You're saying it to the air you breathe. You're saying it to everything. Everything. I love you. Now, I'm the kind of guy that likes to know details and likes to know each little nuance. And of course, there's a few layers, a few styles of love, okay? There's that carnal love, there's the brotherly love, there's the family love, there's the romantic love, and there's the compassionate love. So we're talking about the compassionate love. Because you're human, I'm human. I care for you. I want the best for you. And we get caught up in many, many differences. We are more alike than different, as 100% clear. 100% clear. So the process of Ho'oponopono is one of the easiest tools to get from noticing where your physical pain is, doing that practice, and it begins to unlock and clean up and sweep away all the negative or the word I'm looking for is dense emotional states, low vibrational frequency states that keep you in that illness state. Hopefully this is coming through okay. I know this is some unique concepts for some people out there have been practicing this on and on for years. And I am so thankful for someone in my life that had reminded me, and with a few additional tools that I share in the Vision Living program. Which, in fact, if you're interested in knowing more about what I do, how I help people, yes, with my hands-on practice, but also over video chat like this at a distance. There's a couple things. Number one, at 8 o'clock tonight, we have the Winning in Every Situation webinar where I teach people some insights. And tonight we're going over one of the strategies of the laws of success, step 8 out of 15, I believe it is tonight. And with that, we begin to build the laws of the mind so people can learn how to do these types of things and realize how they're winning in everything if they can shift that perspective. Now, the other piece that for the individual who talked about the intestinal issues, what I want to offer is this. Two things. Number one is there's going to be somebody near you that can physically help you. There is a lot that can be done that way. With that being said, there's also what's called remote healing, and that's the Synergy Solutions program. In fact, if you want to be a supporter of this channel, if you've been on this show before and you've watched and you want to help out and get healing, and there is a way to get your healing covered in this remote quantum healing group. It's called Synergy Solutions. It is in the link synergysolutionsessions.com. And if you're not sure where it is, send me an email, send me a message here, and I'll connect you with that. The point is, this is groups of professionals working with you as an individual in a group setting to help unlock the areas of interference to you realizing better health, better feeling good, greater flow, greater adaptability, greater resilience. It is really the key during these transformative times. Now, I want to give a little personal commentary about intestinal concerns right now. Yes, one of the most major reasons is you've heard of gluten. Have you heard of gliadin? Maybe more prominent than gluten. That being said, there are a number of synthetic chemicals in our food supply that are extremely damaging to the gut health. Learning how to clean up your food, learning how to pick out the right foods can be a game changer. Number two, we are going through transformative time that ancients have talked about, and we see signs in the stars that are, yes, in the Bible, yes, they're in Hopi prophecy, yes, they're in Mayan prophecy, yes, they're in ancient Chinese prophecies, yes, they're in ancient Vedic prophecies, in the ancient native Indian cultures throughout the world. We are in transformative times. So I know it's funny. You hear on social media, you hear somewhere, and I'm basically asking you to get off of it. It's so easy to get distracted, and messages what's the word I'm looking for? The messages sneak in there, get into our subconscious, and then they turn on, they begin to program us. Now, who is they? That's another conversation for a different day. But the point is, our thoughts can be influenced, causing us to think certain ways, to believe we only have certain choices, and it's not from our own discovery process. So, the law of the mind is all, is law number one. Learning that our abdominal area is our second brain. There's so many nerves that connect in between. And through the process of cleaning up the food, learning how to, as I call it, be the gardener of your own mind. Learn how to tend that garden of your mind. There's a number of tools, and I've spent the last 13, 14 years gathering various tools, from EFT tapping to Ho'oponopono, the fast technique, different things professionally that I study. And I'm diving into a new technique right now called neuroemotional technique, which is being brought into the mainstream health system. It's showing changes in brain chemistry faster than any medication. It's fantastic, and there's no medication involved. It's phenomenal. It's all through the question and answer process with the doctor, with the provider. There are physical neurological structure issues, so meaning someone's posture could be making your stomach upset. There's something there's many different areas of the back and the neck and the skull that can relate to that exact concern. And trying to separate one from another, it can't. You are a whole being. And this is part of my problem with what's happening in the conversation of healthcare. We all want to go to a specialist, and that specialist doesn't really take into consideration any other organ of the body or any other area of the body. And if they do, I hope they do. I know there's a huge transformation happening in our healthcare system. The old system's dying. It really is. We're sicker than ever. In fact, I heard a stat. If we categorized human beings like we do endangered animals, the human being would be endangered species right now with all the disease that we got going on. So our food practices, our healthcare practices, our mental wellness practices are not congruent with producing healthy individuals. There's a shift happening. And this is why I'm inviting people to unplug a bit. Get a book. When's the last time you read a book? In fact, it's one of the key components to me coming out of some problems is reading, and specifically choosing books that are transformative. How are we doing out there, ladies and gentlemen, by the way? It's 7:30. Oh my goodness, we are flowing. In fact, way beyond what I wanted to get to. So that being said, if there's any questions, please let me know below. And every Monday we go live at 7 o'clock. We talk about decoding pain. We talk about one of the 9 different chapters, and they're all titled in order to help one understand there is a process to realizing there's perfection in your life all the time. Perfection all the time. And our assignment of good and bad is where we get trapped. Oh my goodness, it's delightful having these conversations. So thank you for tuning in. Like I said, if you have a question, please let me know right now. Send it over an email, contact@drkeving.com. Go to the website, drkeving.com. There you can get connected to the Synergy program, which is the remote quantum healing. And that's one of the best ways to support the channel and get healthcare. Let me just pause for a moment on remote healing. There's the discovery of new brainwaves. And this is where we're starting to understand why synchronicity, why intention, why the placebo effect, why all these distance healing practices have an impact. And of course, different practices have different effects. Some are more routine, predictable and reliable. Some people don't feel them right. There's a lot of conversation there, but nonetheless, it is being studied and it is being utilized currently now. And I have a system where I meet with a couple doctors every Wednesday at 12 noon. And if you've caught me on our channel before, we go over the first few minutes. We share some topics. We share some insights. Sometimes we stay on live, and we allow anyone who tunes in to watch and be a part of that healing. But we're doing it more and more just for the members only. And that is ongoing now. And I know that group is tuning in right now. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your time and also your input. And when we all work together, just like people who are singing together, when there's more voices, it's a louder effect. It's beautiful. And that's what goes on in the synergy world with the quantum healing that we do Wednesdays at 12 noon. So I built a way to get that care for free. If that is a struggle for you, you can get that. You just need to have a couple people that are also interested, and we'll walk you through that. And otherwise, get on board. It's very, very, very low cost for an amazing experience, and it supports the channel. So I can continue to bring the content about understanding the secret language of our human body. Because as you begin to have more awareness of the self, like any guru I've ever come across, going within, finding the way through is an inside job. Be the change you want to see in the world. Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. It's an inside game, ladies and gentlemen. So, is it the final frontier? It may be the only frontier. With that being said, I implore you, I invite you to explore, ask better questions, learn to have the ability of gardening your own thoughts. Because there is a lot of beauty in that process, a lot of freedom in that process. And yes, turning your pain into personal power. I'm Dr. Kevin. Stay tuned for next Monday night at 7 o'clock. We'll go over the details in greater. I'll speak to you then. Thank you, and have a blessed evening.
welcome. I'm Dr. Kevin Jarina, and this is the first introductory video in becoming your own healer.